Hi, I'm Christy. Welcome back to my channel. I was working on my garden calendar the other day and it occurred to me that this might be helpful to other people, so I thought I would share how I keep track of when to plant what in my garden year round. So basically you're gonna need a computer or a tablet or a phone. I prefer to use a computer, it's just easier for me that way. You're gonna need some kind of a calendar application that will let you put in recurring events. I like Google Calendar for a variety. I've been using that for years and just in general, and I like that it lets you create separate calendars. So like I have a personal calendar and then I have my gardening calendar, and that way I can turn the gardening one on and off and it's not always cluttering up my day-to-day schedule. To set this up, this is like a one-time setup. There's a little bit of upfront work that you're gonna have to collect some data, get your frost dates, find which crops you like to grow and what those starting dates are for where you live, and then you're going to input all of that into your calendar as a recurring yearly event. And so let me show you some of the tools I like to use to collect that data. The first one, most important, is your frost dates for where you live. This is different for everyone and it has nothing to do with your hardiness zone. For example, I was in zone 9B in California and I'm in 8A here, but neither one of those had anything to do with my frost dates. Those just tell you what plants you can plant. For example, trees and perennials, things that grow year round, those are the things that you need to know what hardiness zone that they can live in during, so it will to tell you if they will survive the winter, basically. That's all that is, the hardiness, the zones. That has nothing to do with when to start growing things. The frost dates are what matter. So there's a site I like to use called plantmaps.com. I'll just go there real quick. And this isn't really the easiest site to navigate, but you can put in your zip code. I tend to use, you can scroll around here looking for, they have all different types of maps here. What you want to find is the average first frost and the average last frost for your state, basically. They categorize these by states for most of their maps. So I find the easiest way to do this, rather than trying to search their website, I just go to Google and I type, let's say California frost map site, plantmaps.com, and so that's going to tell Google to search only that specific website. And so here I find average last frost dates for California, which is what I want for planting my spring and summer garden. So I'll just go to that. And you'll find that it's color coded. Just zoom back out here. And some people like me, both when I lived in California and where I live now, I live in a microclimate, which means that there can be, somewhere like a mile down the road that has different frost dates than I do. So that's why I find that this site is really useful, because it lets you zoom in closely and find your specific, where you are on the map, rather than just typing in your zip code. That could cover a large area, and it's just going to give you some averages based on I don't know what, but it's not necessarily going to be accurate. So I find this site to be pretty accurate when determining your frost dates. So if I go, I was in Dublin, California before. If I zoom in here, you can see the color coding. So there's like a blue area and there's like this other color, white. So this little area, which is a higher elevation, their average last frost is March 1st. But where I was, my average last frost was February 21st through the 29th. It's a range. And these are averages only. Mother Nature is going to decide from year to year when the actual last frost is going to happen. But this is like the closest you can get as far as, for the sake of planning your garden. So you're going to note down, you're going to use these maps here to find your average last frost date and your average first frost date. And you're going to write those down. And then the next thing you need to do is to find a good seed starting date calculator. There are lots online, and that will tell you when to plant certain things based on your frost date. So I'll show you one that I like from Johnny Seeds. They have a few online tools that are really useful, and I only really recently discovered theirs let's see. So what you do at the top, here's the seed starting date calculator. This one is for spring and summer gardening. So at the top here, you're going to put in whatever your average last frost date was that you found from that other website. And for me, where I live now, I think it's about May 11th. And so I'm just going to enter. And what it did is it changed all the dates on this calendar, and it shows the range. So when to start, it has at the top here, when to start inside, and setting out date, which is the date that you would be transplanting outside, or in some cases with some plants it's better to direct sow, like corn, peas, beans. You would use the setting out date as your direct sow date. So that's both for transplanting and direct sowing, but start indoors is for, you know, when you're starting seeds inside. So just, you would keep this list handy, and you're going to kind of refer to it as you build your calendar. They have a similar tool on their website. If you go to their tools, what is it? No, planning tools. If you go there, they have a similar one for, where is it? Fall harvest planting calculator. And for whatever reason, this one is not an online tool. It's an actual spreadsheet you have to download, but it works in basically the same way. You're going to put your average first frost date for fall planting in that calculator, and it's going to tell you when to start things, your fall crops like broccoli and, you know, those cool weather crops. So these are two different tools for two different seasons. So anyway, you're going to use these two tools to collect the data for the things that you like to plant, the vegetables that you like to grow. It's mostly going to give you a range of planting dates. So it's going to tell you, for example, if you're starting tomatoes indoors for your area, you can start those seeds starting from this date up to an ending date. And that range is important because it'll let you know when it's, you know, basically too late to start tomatoes for your growing zone, for your growing area. So you can either note this information down in a spreadsheet of your own, or you can write it down in a notebook. It doesn't matter as long as you're putting, you know, the name of the vegetable, the first date that you can start it indoors or direct sow, and the last date that you can direct sow, or, you know, or your transplant date. Those are all important pieces of information. So this is the more tedious part. You're going to collect all this information, and then you're going to be ready to input it into your calendar. And then after that, it's going to be an automatic no-brainer thing. This is my rotating garden calendar for the area I live in now. Like, I had one of these set up when I was in California, and then I had to do it all over again when I moved because I'm working now with a completely different set of frost dates. But it's worth it to, you know, do all the data gathering and then just set it all up. So basically what you're going to do, let's see, we're in July. Let me go back. Let's say we're in the winter and we want to plant our spring garden. All right. So in my data collection, I found that, you know, for example, for potatoes, it tells me that the range of dates I can start potatoes where I live is April 12th to May 15th. And so I basically went in here and I added a calendar entry, and I said plant potatoes, and I put a note in because for my area it says wait until the soil temperature is 45 degrees. I picked that date range, make it just an all-day event, and then you have it repeat annually. That's really important. Otherwise, your calendar is not going to be automatic. You want it to tell you every single year, you know, when that time of year rolls around again, you want to be able to look at your calendar and see, oh, it's time to plant potatoes, or, you know. So that's it. You know, you make a note of what it is, what the date range is, and you set it recurring all day annually. And so I basically did this with every single vegetable that I like to grow. All right, so here we are in July. This is this week. The green, basically, I have a color-coded green when it's something to start indoors. And I've made a note here if it's something for fall, even though we're in July, I'm starting indoors for fall, which I just started my broccoli seeds and cabbage and cauliflower earlier today. And this was actually my last day, I think, to do those things. Okay, so I've color-coded things. I think the way I have it, it looks like I have green. The default color for this calendar is green for anything that I'm going to be starting from seed indoors. And then I have yellow for when I'm going to be transplanting certain things outdoors, or when I'm going to be direct sowing things outdoors. And so you can see right now, I still have time if I wanted to transplant peppers outdoors. So basically I am on July 1st and it's telling me that I'm too late to plant tomatoes out, you know, in general. Not, I don't think that's necessarily true, but I'm still within the time frame to direct sow beans, and like it's time to start my broccoli and cauliflower for fall indoors, and then I have orange for things when it's time to harvest certain things. And then I also went on to like my fruit trees. See, we have boysenberries, loganberries, marionberries, plums. I can always go in and fine tune this later if I find, no, you know, my raspberries came later than that set or earlier. I would just go in and change the range, and so that the next year it would be more accurate. Anyway, but the most important part is putting in your calendar entries, noting the range when you can direct sow, when you can plant indoor, you know, start indoors, when you can harvest, and you know, make your calendar entry with that range. Make your calendar entry repeat every year, and then once you have this all set up, you just look at it whenever you need to. And you can be, you know, oh hey, today is July 1st. What is there anything I can plant in my garden today? You know, you just open up your calendar and it'll tell you right there what you can do, or what's, you know, coming up in the next week. That kind of thing. I like the no-brainer aspect of it. I don't have to like get out my charts and look up stuff all the time. I just go to my calendar and it's all right there for me. So I hope you might find this useful. Leave a comment if you've got some other strategy that works better for you. I would love to hear about it. Or leave a comment if you decide to try this method. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.